What's up, world? My name is Kelvin Wynn, and I'm currently doing a presentation on my phone. And you might be wondering why I'm wearing a hat indoors. It's because my hair is like super duper long. Because it's been like 2 months since I cut my hair. Because all the barber shops are closed and all that stuff. So, yeah. I hope you guys are being safe throughout the coronavirus and washing your hands and sanitizing the surfaces that y'all contaminate. So let's get moving onto the documentary. Right here, I have a note, written a few things to keep myself reminded throughout the documentary. This documentary is titled Chicago Violence. It is made by Smile, which is an independently funded documentary company. Chicago Violence talks about, it goes over the violence that's going around and surging in Chicago for forever. It talks about the inner city, how people are affected and killed each year. Matter of fact, in the beginning, there was a statistics that was being said. In 2012, August, there was 54 homicides, and 50 of those homicides were shootings. So 54 homicides and 50 of those were shootings. And from January of 2012 to August of 2012, there were 362 murders overall. So that's not even the whole year yet of 2012. That's just half of it, a little bit more than half than the whole year. And there was already 362 murders. That is crazy. And then they began to go around the neighborhoods and interview people. And they found out why people do the things they do. The number one reason was the fact that these people, these kids in the streets, they don't have no role models at all. Growing up, they didn't have no father figure, somebody they could look up to be positive and get out the mindset of, drug dealing. That moves on to my second thing. Growing up, these kids, they look up to the drug dealers because, they didn't have a lot of money growing up, but they see these big ballers growing up and making a lot of money, and they think to themselves, I want to be just like them growing up. So that's what they do. They get set on that path at an early age. And you ever heard of don't become a product of their environment, of your environment? That's what basically these kids did. They became a product of their environment. So, yeah. And then goes on to interview a family, the Newton family. And in this family, there was 4 kids, the youngest one being Deisha, the 2 middle child, Zita and Arnez, and the oldest child, Eugene. And Deisha talks about how growing up, she was robbing people, breaking in houses, selling crack, marijuana. She was the youngest child. The 2 middle child, Zita and Arnez. Zita had a baby when she was a teenager, and Arnez was one of the more successful ones growing up. I'm not Arnez. It wasn't Arnez when she. Arnez was a he. My bad. Arnez growing up, he got a scholarship, a full ride scholarship to study abroad, and that's what he did. He took advantage of that, and he came back home and got married. On the other hand, Eugene, which is the oldest brother, the oldest sibling, Eugene didn't do so great. Eugene was in jail at 15 years old. Well, not in jail, in juvie at 15 years old for shooting somebody. So, yeah. And then he shot himself too at 15. Eugene wasn't the best oldest brother, so kids had nobody looking up to. Arnez, he wasn't around the house too much because he was studying abroad, so he had to leave his family behind, and his little sisters just grew up with their single mom. So yeah. It is also said that in Chicago, being shot isn't even a big deal in the news no more. You know, like these kids and these grown folks are so used to people being shot, and they hear it at nighttime when they try to go to sleep, and they're tired of it. It also talks about how kids are skipping school, they're on the streets, and education is not really important to them. Although there are teachers out there in Chicago that is trying to make a difference. They're trying to make a change and do something positive and impactful for the environment out there. It is later revealed in the documentary that Eugene later died. Eugene died through, at first he was arguing with somebody over a dice game, and then he shot his best friend. He was on the run, so instead of turning himself into the police, he decided it was the best idea to shoot himself, and that's what he did. Eugene shot himself, and he is dead. And this has impacted 3 younger siblings that he had by making the realization of, you know, losing a really close somebody. So yeah. In the environment, people are just never always around to see, you know, what's going on, the bigger picture of things, you know. And that's why people die every day. People die every day in Chicago, and then nothing is making a change out of it. Chicago has one of the strictest gun laws that I know of. You know, you can't just walk in the store as an 18-year-old kid and be like, oh, I want to buy that gun right there. No, Chicago has implemented strict gun laws. And even though there are strict gun laws, people and kids are still getting their hands on guns with big magazines, guns with lasers and some suppressors and all that stuff. It's guns that you don't need. And even though the market is very strict, how are these kids getting these guns? Which is moving on to my reflection. I feel like there should be gun control, but at the same time, we're looking at Chicago as an example, and gun control isn't really working. So we need to implement new laws and new boundaries, you know, boundaries that could be set to obtaining a weapon. Because for me, I believe in guns, you know, and you might not agree with that, but I believe guns should be around, but at the same time, there should be a limit on who can own the firearm. And that's me. And I also feel like money should be distributed from these rich cities. Like, you know, we live in Cypress and Katy, so we're rich. Well, to me, we're rich. And Chicago, you know, like, I know Illinois has a lot of money, and they can give out to their communities and all that stuff. And the government should be able to do that. The government should be able to distribute the money and implement some, I don't know. I think the federal government should implement some gun laws, a national gun law, to prevent more deaths of kids in Chicago. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope you guys stay safe and stay blessed. Thank you.